שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת כולם גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת כולם יחד. Join me.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים,
שבת כולם גם יחד.
How nice it is, how pleasant it is that all of us are here together. That's from Psalm 133. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to be with you tonight. We will continue on page 2 with the Shabbat candlelighting and invite the Rosenson family up to the bima in honor of Molly's becoming a bat mitzvah tomorrow morning. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov. Continuing with welcoming Shabbat, we first welcome Shabbat with light, and then we welcome in Shabbat messengers of peace. Shalom Alechem, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Malach, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Malach, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
שובכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום,
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So my microphone is on now. Can you hear me? How about you? Can you test your microphone? Not that one.
Can you hear me? Okay.
All right.
Now?
We're doing what we can.
Okay.
Switch places. Switch microphones. Do a
Switch microphones. Okay. Here we are. This is wonderful sharing and a nice way to bring in Shabbat.
And now you won't be able to hear me, which is awesome. We turn to page 13 for Yismechu Hashamayim, continuing Kabbalat Shabbat.
ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלואו ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלואו Ya ba ba bye 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 ya ba bye 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 ya ba bye 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 ya ba bye 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 ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלואו ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלואו יא ba ba bye 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 יא ba ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 יא ba bye 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 bye
On page 19, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. I'm sorry, page 15. I think. Shir Ladonai, page 15.
Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Adonai,
It's page 13. Page 13.
Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Adonai.
For sure, I know this one's on page 20, Lechadodi. Do verses or paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to number 9, we turn to face the door, which most of us walked in through, to greet the Shabbat presence.
Please join in. Ay, 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 lecha dodi, ay, 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 likrat kala, ay, lalai, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, ishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Laila laila dodi, laila laila krat kala, laila laila b'nei Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha sofasa b'machshava tchila. Laila laila dodi, laila laila likrat kala, laila laila b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Itorari, ki ba'orech u'miori, uri shir daberi kevon Adonai, alayich nikra. Laila laila dodi, laila laila likrat kala, laila laila b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzohala, toch emunei am segula, bo yichala. Laila laila dodi, laila laila likrat kala, laila laila b'nei Shabbat nekabela, laila laila dodi, laila laila likrat kala, laila laila b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please take this opportunity, since you're standing up, to wish one another Shabbat Shalom. If there's someone you might not have seen for a little while, or you've never met, please introduce yourselves. The psalm for Shabbat is Psalm 92. It's 4 lines up from the indented part on page 22. On page 22, 4 lines up from the indented part, Ma Gadlu Ma'asach Adonai. Ma Gadlu Ma'asach Hayam Milram Kumakshavotecha Ma Gadlu Ma'asach Hayam Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
בעודם גו מחשבותיך, מה גדלו מעשיך בעודם גו מחשבותיך.
On page 26, Chetzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבן, בעלמא דברך רותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם לעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. ברכו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
Please rise in body or spirit for Baruch, page 28.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma poteach she'arim uvitvuna meshana itin u'machalif et hazmanim u'mesader et ha'kochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or ma'avir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil ben yom u'vein layla Adonai tzavaot shemo Achai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 32. Read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
You may be seated, and we continue on page 36. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובצאתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם. On page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. On page 40, Michamocha.
Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef elem. Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, Osef Elem, who is like you, who is like you, who is like you, Adonai, who is like you, who is like ראו בניך בוהי הים לפני משה ומרים זהני אנו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד who is like you Adonai ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב גואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו
Hashkivenu, our nighttime prayer, we ask God to spread over us a shelter of peace, a Sukkat Shalom. I think the idea came originally for when people were frightened at night when it was very dark, when there was no electricity, it got very dark. People could be afraid or alone or not feeling well. And so we ask God to protect us at night. We also think especially of those in our community, our family, our friends who are in need of healing. We ask God to spread maybe a little bit of extra warmth, a little extra Sukkat Shalom, and to protect us against illness and pain. So we hold in our hearts those members of our community who are in need of healing of body and spirit. Lot Ackerman, Dale Anderson, Julie Arnheim, James Barrett, Les Berkowitz, Alex Botkin, Jennifer Burnau, Joey DeLuca, Dina Damas, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Ann Fay, Jessica Fondy, Ken Franklin, Virginia Frank, Richard Gordon, Aryaman Halalka, Naum Kaplan, Sylvia Kasparowski, Al Camper, Todd Karf, Ruth Leff, Isabel Leindecker, Judith Levison, Susan Lothar, Beatrice Jean B.G. Morrison, Marco Masksara, Fred Oringer, Lev Podorovsky, Jonathan Robeson, Harold Bud Roth, Oliver Scheibel, Aharon Ben Shimon V'Yosefa, Nelson Shook, Bill Stein, Drew Tomasi, Helen Marie Tyree, David Wallach, Dr. Malcolm Weiss, Ralph Wise, Ruth Yar, Elizabeth Yakir V'Olga. Are there any other names for Misha Barak tonight? Anyone else? Misha Barak Avotenu V'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak V'Yakov Sarivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yivarach V'Yirapah Et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill.
Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkat Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'akol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'akol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkat Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael.
On page 44, Vashabru. Our observance of Shabbat as part of our covenant with God.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael odi le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael odi le'olam. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We turn to page 46 for the opening meditation of the Tefillah, which will then continue on the even pages. Please rise as you are able.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלקי חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. On the top of page 55, read together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. On page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. and let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levavdecha v'yira na'avod. And on page 59, at the top of the page, read together a prayer of gratitude. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha uchana'eh lehodot. And we read together a prayer for peace on page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael, Shalom. We continue now with a few moments of silent prayer.
Ratzon imrefi, vegioni bilefanecha. Yihu leratzon imrefi, vegioni bilefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali.
Last week, I spoke a little bit about anti-Semitism, and I'm going to continue a little bit more about that tonight. How many of you have played with the new app, the new AI app called ChatGPT? John has. My husband kept me up for like 2 hours the other night. Let's try this. We had an essay about Brave New World, comparing it to something, and that one wasn't very good, so we did another iteration of it. We wrote songs. He did all kinds of crazy things. So, do you know about it? Okay, so it's an artificial intelligence app, and you tell it to do things like, for example, write the first sentence of an essay or a sermon about Hanukkah. And this is what I got. On Sunday night at sundown, we will light the first light of Hanukkah. Brilliant, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not very interesting. But you can make it better. Like if I had said, no, try a little harder, it could have done a little bit better. But it's fun, so look it up. It's called ChatGPT. It's free, right? Yeah, it's fun. And it's causing academics and high school teachers all over and maybe middle school teachers to be very nervous. How are we going to make sure that these are our students writing? Well, if they start paragraphs off with on Sunday night at sundown, we will light the first light of Hanukkah, you know it's written by an app. Anyway, so that's pretty basic, right? In fact, the Talmudic sages were even actually a little bit more basic when they started to talk about Hanukkah in the Talmud. And their first line in their conversation about Hanukkah was this: "What is Hanukkah, and why are lights kindled on it?" So that's the 2,000-year-old version of a basic question to ask about Hanukkah. What is Hanukkah, and why are lights kindled on it? And then this is what it goes on to say. The answer: the sages taught, on the 25th day of Kislev, the days of Hanukkah are 8. One may not eulogize on them. Some of these things you may not know about, right? So you may not eulogize on them, and one may not fast on them. What is the reason? When the Greeks entered the sanctuary, they defiled all the oils that were in the sanctuary by touching them. And when the Hasmonean monarchy overcame them and emerged victorious over them, they searched and found only one cruse of oil that was placed with the seal of the high priest, undisturbed by the Greeks. And there was sufficient oil there to light the candelabrum for only 1 day. A miracle occurred, and they lit the candelabrum from it for 8 days. So the story that you know, right? The next year, now you may not know this, that it took a year for them to decide to make it a holiday. The next year, the sages instituted those days and made them holidays with recitation of Hallel and special thanksgiving and prayers and blessings. So next week, we probably won't be doing Hallel, but we will do the inserts into the Thanksgiving prayer about Hanukkah. So that's what it says in the Talmud. So today, we recognize 2 miracles connected with the origin of Hanukkah. The first is the one that we just heard, the one from the Talmud about the oil. The other story is that of a small army led by Judah the Maccabee, who defeated the larger and mightier Greek army following the uprising against forced assimilation and the attempted destruction of Jewish law, culture, and the Holy Temple. So you probably know that one too. While we often leave this next part out, Hellenized or assimilated Jews were part of the war against Judah and the rest of the Hasmoneans. So it wasn't only the Syrians, it was the Hellenized Jews that were also it was like an assimilated Jews versus an unassimilated Jews kind of thing. The rabbinic sages made sure to specify how and where to light the Hanukkah lights. And in our most recent HaKesher publication, Rabbi Laketz explains the actual procedure. That is, we put the candles in from right to left. We have the first night, the second night, third night, but then we light them from left to right. So you light the candle that's for the day. But I'm interested tonight in talking about something else. I'm interested in talking about where we light and why we light where we light. So this is the passage from the Talmud about where to light the Hanukkah candles. The sages taught, it is a mitzvah to place the Hanukkah lamp at the entrance to one's house on the outside so that all can see it. If one lives upstairs, they place it at the window adjacent to the public domain. And in a time of danger, when the Gentiles issue decrees to prohibit kindling lights, they place it on the table, and that is sufficient to fulfill their obligation. We call the tradition of placing the Hanukkah menorah, it's also called a Chanukiah, in the window or door. We call that idea of putting it outside or putting it close to outside as publicizing the miracle. So which miracle, you might ask? Well, both miracles. The growing number of lights night after night publicized the miracle. The little drop of oil lasted yet another day in the desecrated temple. So the first night we have one little light, that's for the first day, the second night too, so it lasted for 2 different days, for 2 nights, et cetera, et cetera. So we're publicizing that miracle. The lights in the window also announced to the world that Jews did not then and have not since completely assimilated into the larger culture. Our lights in the window indicate our pride in our tradition and our identity. The lights in the window also advertise that Jews live inside, which is why the Talmud states that in times of danger, that is, when there is anti-Jewish sentiment, threat, and/or activity, It is acceptable to put the menorah in a less visible space. Where is your Hanukkah menorah going to be this year? And why? My colleague, Rabbi Eric Solomon, who lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, objects to the idea that it's the anti-Semites who get to say where we put our Chanukiot, and I love what he wrote. This is what he said. According to the Talmud, it is ideal to place the Hanukkah menorah in the window. However, if one is living in a time of danger, it is permissible to place one's Chanukiah on a table. This is an instance when a mitzvah's fulfillment is dependent on the potential actions of people who hate us. That's what he wrote on Facebook. This is an instance when a mitzvah's fulfillment is dependent on the potential actions of people who hate us. He continues, did we put the Chanukiah in the window or not? Anti-Semites on some level decide. Over the past few months, this is him still talking, I've done a number of news interviews about the rise in anti-Semitism, including today in response to the White House roundtable. He wrote this, I think, last week. I'm deeply grateful to the Biden administration for taking this issue seriously. I'm grateful to the local news media for lifting Jewish community voices in this time of challenge. So he's thanking the press for being interested in the story. But, like the issue of placing the Chanukiah on the table, it troubles me that anti-Semites are dictating when Judaism and the Jewish community are lifted up in the public square. Hanukkah is soon approaching. The Jewish community is finally gathering together in a sort of post-COVID world. And then he goes on to describe a couple of things that are happening in his community in Raleigh, some happy things. So let me just sort of improvise there and say tomorrow we celebrate a young woman on the occasion of her bat mitzvah. So that is a joyous event. And we will gather on Sunday with JJEP to celebrate Hanukkah. Neither of these things are going, I'm sorry, but you probably will not be interviewed about your bat mitzvah. Because it's like the good news isn't news. He continues, there is so much positive to report on, but that's not what the news came to hear. Again, I don't blame them. I blame the anti-Semites. This is still Rabbi Solomon. And yet, what can we do to change the narrative? Here's an idea. If someone comes to you and offers their concern or asks sincere questions about anti-Semitism, it is completely appropriate to respond honestly and thank them for their outreach. It really means so much. But consider mentioning how we are so much more than a community that is hated by an insidious sliver of American society. We are a vibrant, proud people that lives out and celebrates our Jewish lives no matter what. Bat mitzvah. Anti-Semites do not get to determine our actions. We do. Keep this in mind when you put out your Chanukiot this year. We get to determine where to place them, not anybody else. He ends his piece with this. 3 guesses where our Hanukkah menorahs are going this year. We don't need 3 guesses. Rabbi, yours is going in the same place as mine is. The hashtag that he wrote at the end of his piece is #in the window. I hope you put your Hanukkah menorahs in the window. If you don't have a place, fudge it. Put a table in front of it and put it in front of the window. Let's publicize all the miracles, and let's publicize our pride, and let's publicize our joy in being Jewish. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We continue on page 282 with Aleinu. If you're able, please rise. Thank you.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמו ושכינת זו בגופי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אפס אלוקינו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו ידעת היום וידעת והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please remain standing. Kaddish is on page 294. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died in the last week, Mark Ehrenrich and Dorothy Mates. Also within the last 30 days, Erwin Katofsky, Muriel Muldorf, Zola Munter, Eileen Ruttenberg, Arnold Schlisserman, Dorothy Sternberg, Lois Unell. We also remember those who died at this season in years past and whose yahrzeit we observe on this Shabbat: Stuart A. Arnheim, James B. Bachman, Jean Baker, Naomi Blaufeld, Nora Bromberger, Bob Davis, Seymour Estner, Sophia H. Feinert, Thelma Finkelstein, Walter Frank, Harvey Friedland, Henry Goldstein, Pearl Gollin, Bernard Kleiman, Edgar Landerman, Josiah D. Lazar, Adolfo Ledachowski, Ray Levine, Alvin Lichtenstuhl, Eva Lundy, Hyman Mandel, Max Marcus, Carl F. Myers, Sororo Majololi, Dmitry Shimkin, Dorothy Weiss, and Herbert G. Wertheimer. Are there any other names for yahrzeit tonight? Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be for blessing. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
B'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. B'galau v'zman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudashah b'rechu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Tamiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
In just a moment, we'll conclude our service with Ki Esh Meirah Shabbat on page 330, and then we'll invite Molly up after that to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. A couple of notes. First, I'd like to thank Luke, who's up there running our sound and light show. Thank you, Cantor Laura Berman. Thank you, our music director, Don McGahan. Mazel tov to Molly and her family. We're looking forward to tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock when Molly Rosenson becomes a bat mitzvah. Something else we may get a news story about La Kapalooza on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock at the Congregation Beth Shalom, big Hanukkah party. And there will be, next Friday night, we will be lighting our big Polish menorah, Hanukkah menorah, but prior to services. And as I think about it, we normally light it in the hallway. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get it in front of a window. We'll be lighting it at 5:30, and then we'll be coming to continue with the rest of services after that. So that's next Friday night, with some potato latkes afterwards, of course. Ki Shmeira Shabbat, page 330.
Yishmera Shabbat El Yishmereni, Ki Yishmera Shabbat El Yishmereni, Oti Leon Me'ad Beno Veni, Oti Leon Me'ad Beno Veni, Ki Yishmera Shabbat El Yishmereni, Ki Yishmera Shabbat El Yishmereni.
Molly, come on up, page 5 for Kiddush. Got it. That's yours.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher qidshaנו b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu zikaron l'ma'asav reshit ki hu yom tehila lemikrai kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim Kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
That you're going to take off for the... Uh-oh, it's still in its... That's how we know it's really fresh. It's not my job. You want me to cut?
Yeah.
Okay, you sing, I'll cut.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lecha min haaretz.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Please come get a piece of challah, bring your prayer books up if you would, and return them to the table outside. Shabbat Shalom. Nice job.
Take this.
Sure. You hungry?